organization structure, expansion strategies, financial reporting and analysis, audit, compliance, corporate governance, corporate strategic planning, financial frauds, risk management, and liquidations. So these are the 13 topics we are going to cover in this series of classes, and of course that is enough to answer the questions in the exam paper. So what is our objective of this class? Basically, we are having the two objectives following this class. The first objective, of course, increase our knowledge in the subject area. In any subject or any studies, when we are studying, the one of the objective is enhance our subjectivity knowledge in that area. And the second and main objective of this following this course is sit the exam and pass through the exam paper. So that in that case, we must have some idea before starting the class. We must have some idea about how the exam paper will come. So having that idea only, we can study, or we can plan our study in a proper way. Of course, the financial institution management has a separate paper which has nearly 8 questions. The first question is compulsory questions. It has 10 sub questions. Each question have 2 marks. So if you answer correctly in that 10 questions, you can earn 20 marks. And each question is a short answer questions, normally 1 word or 2 words, and very short answers. The examiners expect very short answer for the first questions. And from rest of the 7 questions, out of the 7 questions, out of the balance 7 questions, you have to select 4 questions. Each has 20 marks. Then altogether you have to do the 5 questions. Each has 20 marks, then 100 marks. When you are focusing on the area risk management, corporate strategy, corporate governance, compliance, financial reporting analysis, those areas are having more weighted in the exam paper. So when you are studying those areas, you can able to answer the questions. So that is the sort of basic understanding about the this subject. Do you all wanted to ask anything from me regarding the some background information about the today's our subject called finance institution management? Okay, if you can any questions you can answer. Otherwise we can move into the today's area. The first we will start with the introduction to the financial statement in institutions. What is financial institution? Can someone give some example for the financial institutions? Of course, since you all are sitting on the banking exams, you all may have the experience in working in the financial institutions. However, just to have an idea, can someone give the example for the financial institutions? Yes, somebody answered that this is banks. We can consider the banks as one of the financial institution, central bank as one of the financial institution, and some clearing companies and stock brokering company, licensed finance companies, specialized leasing companies. Those companies can be so those businesses can be considered as a financial businesses, and so the companies which are engaged with this type of business are called as a financial institutions. When we are talking about the economy, we can't imagine an economy without financial system, because each and every economy in any country, there should be a strong financial system to run that economy, because financial system and financial methods is most important to run the economy. So in the financial system, there are 3 or 4 components generally identified. What is the first component? Financial institutions. The first components of the financial system is financial institution, and the second component of the financial system is the financial markets, And for third component is the financial regulators. Regulators are coming like central bank and Securities Exchange Commission and insurance regulatory commission, likewise the financial regulators. And the fourth are financial infrastructure providers. Those are like payment and settlement companies, check clearing companies, and likewise sort of they are the companies providing financial infrastructure for the payment and settlement system, as well as some other financial services as well. So in any economy, there should be a strong financial system, and the strong financial system, there's a one most important component is financial institutions. The financial institution, as we see, there are the central banks, commercial bank, licensed specialized banks, stock brokers, and clearing company, etc., etc. So without this financial institution, it is not possible to have the financial transactions. So the financial transaction is take place or facilitated by these financial institutions like banks and finance companies. And there's another concept called financial intermediaries. The financial intermediaries are the people, those are getting fund from surplus unit to surplus unit and giving the loans and advances to the deficit units. Generally, licensed commercial banks, licensed specialized bank, and licensed finance companies are doing those financial intermediary jobs. It means getting funds from excess surplus unit and giving the loans and advances to the deficit units. When they are getting funds, they are getting as a deposits. Mainly they are getting through the deposits. And when they are giving to the deficit unit, they are giving through the loans and advances. So this is the way the financial intermediaries connect this financial transaction. So by facilitating to the financial system of the economy. So these financial institutions should allocate the funds, or they are just sharing the fund in a effective manner. So in the importance of the financial system, we all would have felt it during this COVID-19 pandemic times, where these transactions, when we wanted to do the transactions, the physical transaction are very risky, and sometimes it was not possible. So at that time, we just made through the online transactions and through some other mobile phone transaction way. So this financial transaction and financial institution facilitated or supported a large way to the economy to run in a smooth way. So at the last point, of course, it has been mentioned that the financial institution can be considered central bank, financial intermediaries. It means the banks and finance companies, and the financial service providers. So these are the people we are considering as a financial institutions. And what is the key function of the financial institutions? Actually, there are four type of function we are just categorized as a key function of the financial institution. First one is size transformation. Actually, okay, there are surplus unit in the economy and there is a deficit unit in the economy. Okay, someone can raise the question that okay, without the financial institution, the surplus unit can directly give the money to the deficit unit and they can earn the money. Why we should have the financial institution in between that and giving the margin to them? Actually, even though there's a surplus unit, there's a deficit unit, there may be mismatches between the size transformation. The surplus unit may have 10, for example, surplus unit, a person has a surplus of money, he may have 10 million rupees. But this deficit unit firm, the large firm, they need 100 million rupees. So they can easily, they can't just getting this person and satisfy their deficit requirement. So what they have to do is they have to find the 10 people like this 10 million surplus people. So the banks and financial intermediaries are doing that job, size transformation. There may be surplus unit having the large size or sometimes small sizes. So what they are doing is they are getting all the surplus funds and giving to the deficit people. So they are doing the size transfer. For example, I think the people that you would have understand this. Sometimes the surplus unit may have the 10 million, but deficit unit may want only 5 million at that time. So there will be a mismatches. Same time, the surplus unit may have the 10 million, but the deficit unit wants 50 billion. So that time also there will be some mismatches in the size. So these finance institutions are facilitating to bridge the gap between the size transformation. That's what the first bullet we are saying, that the varied size of the fund requirement and fundraising are much to satisfy individual requirements. So that is one of the key function of financial institution. The second one is maturity transformation. That is also one of the important functions or key functions doing by the financial institutions. Maturity transformation. Of course, surplus unit people, okay, there's a person called X. He has the surplus money of 10 million rupees, but he needs that money in 1 year period. But there's a deficit unit, the person Y. He need the same 10 million rupees, but he need for 5 years period. So there will be a maturity mismatches. So to do this maturity transformation, the financial institutions play the role there. So what they are doing is they are getting the fund from the various parties, and they are for that they are getting for 1 year maturity, 2 years maturity, 6 months, 3 months, and various maturities. They pull the fund and give it to the deficit unit. So there will be a maturity transformation there. So that is the second function of the financial institution. The third one is asset liability transformations. So the financial institution provide financial instruments that are more attractive to the both fund providers and users. That is one of the main function. For example, okay, let's assume that there's a fund surplus unit as well as fund deficit unit. We can, as I mentioned already, can't we give the fund surplus unit to fund deficit unit directly? Of course, we can't, because there may be different asset and liability, and there may be we must have the trust on the deficit person, and there must be a trust on this surplus person as well. So there will be a lot of practical issues. But finance institutions provide attractive instruments. For example, there's a large commercial bank. They are giving their deposit certificate to the surplus unit people and getting the fund. So surplus unit people are more happy with their deposit transaction or deposit certificate of the bank rather than getting some promissory note or something from the deficit unit. Same time, the deficit unit people also can easily get the loans and advances with a more legal background and more easy legal background way. So the asset and liability transformation also one of the key function of the finance institution. The last one is the risk transformation, which is, of course, everybody knows that finance institution minimize the liquidity and price risk through their ability to diversify some of the risk. So these are the key functions of the financial institution. Is anybody has the questions, you can raise or you can come through the chat box. Anybody has the questions? These are very basic stuff. We are giving some basic background to start to go into the depth analysis or depth discussion on this topic. So these are very basic things. Maybe if you are working in this finance institution, you all may know these key functions of the finance institution, and practically you may get involved with this type of transactions. And the next one is the importance of the finance institutions. Actually, there are three types of importance or reasons are given to the importance of the finance institution. Reduction of transaction cost. Because when there is a finance institution, they are getting fund from the surplus unit and pool the fund and give it to the deposits the deficit people. There's a economic of scale will be provided because the transaction cost will be very minimized, and provision of liquidity also high in the when financial institutions get involved. And the same time we can say that risk sharing, asset transformation and portfolio diversification, risk sharings are getting involved in the importance of the financial institution transaction, and address asymmetric information and adverse selection and moral hazards will be there. So these are the some of the financial importance of the financial institution, which reduce the transaction cost, sharing the risk, as well as address the asymmetric information problem in the existing in an economy of financial transactions. And management of the financial institutions, generally there will be a question in this, not direct questions, but there may be an indirect question. Most of the in several exam papers, past papers, we can observe these questions. They just asking that the financial institutions are different from the other business entities. Explain this statement. They just ask the question. Okay, explain this statement. So, what is the main difference or distinction from the other business finances? What is the main difference between the financial institutions and other normal institutions, normal business entities like a production company or a tourism related company or some other apparel industry company? Compared to those companies, what is the main difference between the financial institution? Actually, I am expecting this answer from you all. What is the main difference between the financial institutions and other business entities like production company or apparel company or any other company? What is the main difference? Why we need to give more regulatory requirement for the financial institutions? Because when you compare to the some production company or trading company, we are giving more regulation. We are putting more regulation to the financial institutions. And we are having the separate regulator, central bank for a finance institution, bank and finance companies. But we are why we are not giving or we are not imposing more restriction or more regulations on the production company? Why the economy or system putting more restriction and regulatory requirement for the finance institution? What is the difference? Yeah, there are several answers. First one is saying that it is a service provider. The second one, there was an answer that they can accept deposit from the customers. This answer somewhat close to the answer. The third one, there's a answer because our product is money, dealing with public money. Yeah, exactly. That may be the answer. We are dealing with other people's money because financial institution deal with the public fund. Of course, you all are more close to the answer. Why the finance institution are what is the main difference between the finance institution and other business entities? Because financial institution are deal with public fund or they are collecting the public money. When you are taking the other business entities are run with the owner's capital. But in the financial institutions, they are running with the depositors' money. The owner's fund is a small portion in the total liability structure. But depositors' fund is the large portion in the their liability side, but the balance in the balancing. So the financial institution should have more stringent regulatory requirement implemented by the central bank or regulators. That is the main reason why. If there is any question, you have to answer that. The finance institution are deal with the depositors fund, which is compared to the their capital, it is which is a larger portion. Therefore, their finance institution need to be regulated and put some more restriction to start out to run their businesses. That is the underlying idea. The second one is they have wide macroeconomic impact and public impact due to their specific role. That's also, of course, important, because when there's a, for example, X is one of the production company, Y is one of the finance company or the bank. If X company, the production company, failed or they close down the production company, the impact, the microeconomic wide impact is very less. But if a bank or finance companies fail, or if they close down the banks or finance companies, their impact is high in the macroeconomic system. And the impact to the public is very high. That's why there is a more licensing requirement, stringent licensing requirement for a finance institutions. And preserving customer confidence is the key success and sustainability. Because the financial institution, so these are the some of the reasons. The financial institutions should have more customer confidence, because otherwise customers won't come and put their money. So, but in the production company or some other service company, there should not be such a requirement, because they also should have the customer confidence. But this in the bank or financial institution, there should be a higher customer confidence, because otherwise customers won't come and put their money into the banks or finance companies. Hence, financial institution require a specific management approach. So these are the reasons saying that the management of the financial institution should be different from the management of other business entities. You understand? I hope you will have understand. If you have any question, you can ask. So these are the main area we have discussed about the introduction to the finance institution. First, we have seen what is the finance institution, some background information, and what are the institutions coming under the finance institution and all. Then we have discussed about the key functions of the finance institution. There are 4 key functions: size transformation, maturity transformation, asset and liability transformation, and risk transformations. Then we have discussed about the importance of the finance institution, why these finance institutions are important, and then we have discussed about the management of the finance institution, and we have particularly discussed how the management of the finance institutions are different from management of other business entities. So this is the actually our first sections. Before moving to the incorporation of companies, if you will have any questions, you can ask. Okay, if you all don't have any questions, I'll move into the incorporation of companies. Before moving into that, actually, this is one of the difficulties in the online classes. If it is a general normal classes, we may have more interactions, and it will keep the students also keep sort of active mode. But in the online classes, of course, sometimes the interactions are very low. So to keep the students active, I like to have two-way communication. So, but you will give good answers to the earlier questions. So keep it that momentum continuously and give your feedbacks, as well as if you want, or if you wanted to clarify any questions or any doubt, you can easily come through the chat box. Having that now, we move into the incorporation of company. This is the next, the large section of this today's class. Of course, this is based on our Companies Act, I think 2007 Companies Act. So the majority of the financial institutions are incorporated under the Companies Act number 7 of 2007. So when you are known generally, except one or two state banks, all other financial institutions are generally incorporated under the Companies Act. So once it's incorporated as a company, it becomes a corporate body. So a corporate body has the capacity to carry out or undertake any business or activity, do any act or enter into any transaction. Basically, it says that a corporate body has it's like an artificial person. He is not a natural person. He is like an artificial person. So he has the power or capacity to carry out or carry on or undertake any business or activity, do any act or enter into any transaction. So he is considered as sort of artificial person. So he has the capacity. And the final blood saying that a corporate body is provide all rights, powers, privilege necessary for its purpose. So when a corporate or company incorporated for which purposes, so this corporate body is provided all rights, powers and privileges necessary to achieve their purposes. So in order to achieve their purposes, they can carry out a business, undertake any businesses or activities, and they can enter into any transaction. So this is one of the first step in the statutory corporate. So most of the financial institutions are generally incorporated under the Companies Act. Under the Companies Act, actually, you can go through this in the Company Act number 7 of 2007. It's in the website. You can download it and read it if you want any further knowledge. So type of the companies, there are three types of the companies. The first one is the limited company. In the limited company, issues, shares and shareholders have the liability to contribute to the assets of the company if specified in the article of association. Actually, basically what we can understand is the limited liability company is the shareholders can contribute to the capital and their maximum loss is limited to the amount specified in the article of association. Generally, it is limited to their capital amount. And the unlimited company issues shares and shareholders have unlimited liability to contribute to the assets of the company under article of association. If the company make a losses, these people are having unlimited liability to contribute to the assets of the company. And the third one is limited by the guarantee. So here, this is normally generally association clubs and some other welfare societies are generally incorporated under the company limited by guarantee. So no issue of shares and the members undertake to contribute to the assets of the company in the event of put into liquidation in an amount specified in the article of association. Normally, generally, they don't issue the shares. But if there is any liquidation process and if there is any excess liability, in the article of association, it will mention, okay, each and every members, what would be their liability under the event of liquidations. So there are three types of companies we can observe in Sri Lanka: the limited company, unlimited company, and company limited by guarantee. So that's another important or popular type of company is the private company, where article of association includes the provision to prohibit from offering shares or other securities of the company to the public. So this is one of the main restrictions imposed to the private companies. The private companies, they are prohibited to offer shares or any other securities. Any other securities mean maybe debentures. Any other securities of the company to the public. So they can't offer for the public in general. So what they can do is they can issue the shares for the known parties. They can't offer to the public. That is the main restriction which will be included in the Article of Association. Article of Association, sort of the document which prescribe all the terms and conditions related to the company. So which in the private company, it should include that it's prohibited from offering shares or other securities of the company to the public. That is first one. The second one is the limit shareholders to 50. The maximum shareholders must be 50. But there are some exceptions. What are those exceptions? Generally, the maximum limit of the maximum number of shareholders are limited to 50. But there are some exceptions. What are those exceptions? Who are employed of the company? For example, under the share ownership plan, some companies may issue the shares to their employees. If employees are shareholders, in that circumstances, this number, the maximum shareholders number 50, will not applicable. Or in other words, we can say that we have to exclude these employees to calculate this number of maximum number of shareholders limit. Understand? Then second condition is the who became shareholders while they were employees and continue even after ceasing employment. For example, under the share ownership plan, this company provide or allocate shares to the employees. But even after retirement or after resigning from the company, they keep that shares. Then those shareholders also to be exempted when we calculate the maximum shareholders number. Okay, this is one of the private companies, one of the main restriction, maximum shareholders to be 50. Then for the third one is a private company by anonymous resolution of its shareholders can dispense with a requirement to maintain interest register. In the private companies, they are maintaining the interest register, and in any circumstance, unanimous resolutions by everybody's agreeing, they can dispense with the requirement, or they need not to maintain the interest register. But however, if any shareholder give the notice in writing to contrary, the register should be maintained. So these are the 4 conditions applying for the private companies, and there are some more conditions as well, where all the shareholders anonymously agree to any actions taken or to be taken. Such action is considered as validity authorized. And the 6th one is if the article of association is altered in a way that the company law no longer comply or fail to comply with the statutory requirement of the private company, it ceases to be a private company. Requirement of interest register and anonymous agreement of shareholders ceases to apply, deemed to have changed its name appropriately. But it is. In any circumstances, if a company could not comply with the private company requirement, then that company should not be considered as a private company in future. So they have to cease to be a private company. For example, the maximum shareholder limit is 50, excluding these employees and former employees, those who are having the shares. Okay? When a company has more than 50 shareholders, for example, if the 55 shareholders or 60 shareholders, in that case, they can't be a private company. Or the company cannot offer a charge to the public, but for their business expansion, they need to offer for they compelled to offer for a public to raise the funds, because their existing shareholders does not have the capacity to put additional capital. In that circumstances, they want to go for a public offer. In that circumstances, that company will not be considered as a private company anymore. So they have to cease to be a private company. Then the requirement of maintaining interest register and anonymous agreement of shareholders cease to be applied. So that has to be applied. Will not be applied and deemed to have changed its name. Why they have to change the name? Because in a private company, within bracket, they have to put as a private PVT. Then if they are no longer private company, they have to remove that PVT word from their name and has to apply the new name applicable to General Limited Company. Have you all understand? Anything you all wanted to ask? This is related to the private company. Before moving to the company, guaranteed company, if you have any questions with regard to the private companies, I can answer. So you all don't have any questions? Okay. Then I'll move into the other section. The company is limited by guarantee. So the company, before moving to that, so how many minimum shareholders? The maximum shareholders is 50. How many minimum shareholders for a private company? It is generally 2 people. Okay. The company is limited by guarantee. 2 or more person can apply to form a company limited by guarantee. So this is the general rule. The 2 or more people can apply to from the to form a company limited by guarantee. Okay, by the way, to whom they have to apply? To form the company, to whom they have to apply? I expect answers from you all, dear friends. To form a company, it says that they have to apply. 2 or more people can apply to form a company limited by guarantee. To whom they have to apply? Can someone answer? Okay, come on guys, this is the general knowledge. Okay, yes, registrar of companies. So you will have to apply to the registrar of companies. So 2 or more persons can apply to form a company by guarantee. So to registrar of company. The prescribed form signed by each initial member should be submitted in incorporation along with the article of association, because article of association is must. That is sort of very prime document to a company, which articulate or which describe the basic terms and condition or agreement between the company and shareholders and companies and outsiders. So article of association they have to submit, and consent from the initial director to act as a director. So from the initial, when they are form a company, there should be some initial directors, founder directors. So they have to, the initial directors should give the consent, and the initial secretary to a company also has to give the consent to act as a secretary. So these are the, with the prescribed form, they have to give these 2 or 3 documents at least. And article of association shall state the object. Actually, in any company, the object should be an import. So in an article of association, they have to mention what is the objective of the company. There will be a co-objective and sub-objective, but the co-objective they have to mention at least. Okay, what is the purpose of creating this company? An amount each member undertake to contribute to the assets of the company in the event of liquidations. So actually in the event of liquidations, what is the members' contribution? Undertake to contribute, they have to mention, because this is the company is limited by guarantee. So we have studied the 3 type of guarantee companies. First, limited liability company. Other one is unlimited company. Other one is companies limited by guarantee. So this is in the companies limited by guarantees. We have to with the prescribed form. We have to give the 3 documents to the registrar of companies, article of association, and consent from the initial director and consent from the initial secretary to act as a secretary. And in the article of association, it must be mentioned the objective of the company and the amount each member undertake to contribute to the assets of the company in the event of liquidations. Okay, before going to that, any questions you all wanted to ask from me? Okay, then I'll move into the next one, the offshore company. This is also one of the type of company existing in Sri Lanka, or the mention under the Companies Act, the offshore companies. A company or a body of corporate incorporated under law of any foreign country is called offshore company. What is the definition? A company or body corporate incorporated under law of any foreign country is called offshore company. That means a company which is incorporated under the law of any of the foreign country is called as a offshore company. The application for registration should be accompanied several documents. So they have to when they are registering offshore company, they have to give more documents, several documents with the application form. Here also, to whom they have to give? They have to give to registrar of company. So the first document is a certificate copy of the charter or statute or other relevant document. It means these companies are generally or originally incorporated in a foreign country. So when they are incorporated in that foreign country, so they have to give that original charter or statute or other relevant document with the application form. And the second one, list of directors or those who manage the company with details. So the existing companies, who's the offshore company, when they are applying for the offshore company, they have to give the list of directors or those managing the company with detail. And the third one is names and addresses of one or more persons who are resident in and are citizen of Sri Lanka who is authorized to represent the company. When they are giving the application form to register the offshore company, what they have to do is they have to give the list of directors. At least one director should be a Sri Lankan citizen. And then what they have to give is the name and address of one or more person who are residents in and are citizens of Sri Lanka who are authorized to represent the company. So they have to give, basically one of the directors should be a Sri Lankan resident as well as citizen. And who is representing that company? So they have to give the name and address and other detail of that person. And the fourth one is statement containing full address of the registered and principal office in the country of incorporation and office in Sri Lanka and a certified copy of the incorporation order. So what they have to do is they have to give the full address of the original company's address as well as Sri Lankan office address as well as certified copy of the incorporated order. So those things they have to give it to the company register when they are applying for a incorporation as an offshore company. And the other one is can carry on any business outside the Sri Lanka but not entitled to carry on any business within the Sri Lanka. This is the main and most close condition. The first one is what is offshore company? A company or body corporate incorporated under law of any foreign country is called offshore company. And the second important point is they can carry the business outside Sri Lanka but not entitled to carry on any business within Sri Lanka. They are called as offshore companies. Understand? Because next we are going to study about the next we are going to study about the overseas company. Both are closely similar, but that's one main difference is the overseas company they can have the business in Sri Lanka, but offshore company they can't carry out any business within Sri Lanka. They have only entitled to carry out the business outside Sri Lanka. This is you will have to keep in mind. Understand? The offshore company. And a certificate of registration will be issued having regard to the national interest or in the interest of national economy to carry on the business outside Sri Lanka, where the company pay the prescribed fee and produce a certificate from a bank that money required to meet expenses of the company has been deposited in the company's name in that bank. So in the national interest, somebody can ask the questions why it cannot carry out the business in Sri Lanka by they are registering as a company. There may be other purposes, but what is the case is the registrar of company can issue this based on the national interest of the national economy, but they have to pay the prescribed fee as well as produce a certificate from the bank that money required to meet the expenses. All the expenses, the money required for the expenses are already deposited in the bank. So this is the thing. And the other point is exempted from complying with the other provisions of the Companies Act. Actually, for these companies, there are a set of provisions. So they have to comply only for that provision, exempted from complying with other provisions of the Companies Act. Each calendar year, company should provide proof of prescribed payment and a bank certificate on meeting the expenses. So every year, what they have to do is they have to make the payment to the registrar of company, and they have to give the evidence. Okay, the money related to the expenses or required to the expenses are already deposited in the bank account. So these are the things related to the offshore company. Of course, these offshore companies are basically we are just studying. Okay, first we have studied about the private company, and second we have studied about the sort of companies by guarantee, limited by guarantees, and now we are just moving to the offshore company. This is just to give some idea to you all about this, how to incorporate the incorporation of companies and all. Then the next one is the overseas company. Before moving to the overseas company, you will have any questions? Okay, if you all don't have any questions, I'll move into the overseas company. The definition for the overseas company is a company or body corporate incorporated outside Sri Lanka that establishes a place of business within Sri Lanka. Understand? So here also these companies are generally incorporated outside Sri Lanka, but they are having established a place of business within Sri Lanka. They can do the business in Sri Lanka. It should be within 1 month of establishment in Sri Lanka, delivered to the Registrar of Companies the following document for the purpose of registration. A certificate copy of the charter, statute or memorandum of article or any other relevant document in English. And list of directors with particulars, other details. The name and address of the one or more persons in the Sri Lanka authorized to receive the documents and notices served to the company. These are similar to the offshore companies. And full address of the registered office and principal place of business within Sri Lanka. A recent certificate copy of any document evidencing the incorporation of the company in the foreign country. So these are the things they have to give to the offshore company. Thing. This is overseas company. So the main difference between the offshore company and overseas company is the offshore company, they can't have the business, any business within Sri Lanka. But these overseas people, they can establish a place of business within Sri Lanka. And other documentations are more or less similar. Any questions? Okay, then we move into the incorporating a company. So what are the requirements and all? We can just discuss some basic knowledge. Before that, we have already discussed about that some main type of companies. Under that first classification, we have seen about what are those three companies: limited liability company, unlimited liability company, and limited by guarantee company. Then we have seen the some three type of other special type of companies: private companies, offshore companies, and overseas companies. Now we are going to move into that incorporating a company. I have already asked the question from you all: how many shareholders need at least to incorporate a company? There should be at least 2 or more shareholders need to incorporate a company. But there can be a one person in one special circumstances, one person can incorporate a company, or a single shareholder can incorporate a company. In which circumstances? It is already I have given. The single shareholder permitted if shares are held by the individual or body of corporate or secretary to the treasury on behalf of the government of Sri Lanka. If an individual or body of corporate or secretary to the treasury on behalf of the government of Sri Lanka, then the single shareholder is permitted. Otherwise, generally 2 or more shareholders is necessary. Understand? Okay. Then for the incorporate of a company, there should be a 2 or more shareholder. Then third one is submitting the application to the registrar of companies in the prescribed form signed by the each of the initial shareholders with the following document they have to submit to the registrar of company. So initial shareholders are founders of the company. So they have to sign. The first one is a declaration stating that to the best of their knowledge, the name of the company is not identical or similar to that of the existing company. Of course, we will look into that. What are the requirements with related to the company? When a person or the group of people wanted to register or incorporate a company, the first step is they have to select a company name. When they are selecting a company name, there should be some requirement. There are some requirements. They should follow it. The first requirement is the name of the new company should not be identical to the existing company. Should not be identical to the existing company. For example, there's a XYZ company in existing. There's an existing company called XYZ company. Then we can't incorporate another company by giving the same name XYZ company. Or like the XYZ company, it's also not allowed if it is the names are exactly identical. So what they have to do is the submitting document, their declaration stating that to the best of their knowledge, the name of the company is not identical or similar to that of the existing company. Who has to sign? The initial shareholders has to sign and give. The second one is the article of association of the company signed by each shareholder if different from article of association in the Act. Actually, in the Act, there's an article of association given in the Annexure 1. So generally, it's sort of model article of association. Generally, company can follow those article of association. But if it is the company's article of association are different from that article of association given in the Act, then each initial shareholder should sign in that article of association. And that other two are we have already studied, the consent from the each director to act as a director and consent from the initial secretary to act as a secretary. So these are the 4 documents they have to given, at least the minimum document they have to given to incorporate a company. Any doubt you all wanted to ask? Okay, there are some other things also. So first what they are doing is there are 2 people, and then with the 2 people they have to give these documents, and with the prescribed application form they are submitting their application to the registrar of company. And the third, upon receiving the duly completed application in the prescribed form, the registrar of company will enter particulars of the company on the register. Assign a unique number as its company number. So in every company there should be there's a unique number. So they will assign the unique number to the company and issue a certificate of incorporation in the prescribed form. So there's a format. So this is the third step. The first step, 2 or more people has to get together, and they have to submit the application form to the registrar of company. Then once the registrar of company is obtaining the application, they have to enter the particulars into the register and assign the number and issue the certificate of incorporation in the prescribed form. This is the third. And the certificate of incorporation is conclusive evidence that all requirements of incorporation have been completed and the company has been incorporated on that particular specific date. This is, as I told already, this is sort of artificial person. The company is sort of artificial person. They have a unique name, and the particular date they are the incorporation. Then there's a certificate of incorporation giving evidence that okay, all the requirements of the incorporation have been completed by the initial shareholders, and the company has been incorporated on the specific date. The certificate of incorporation specifies the name and number of the company. So these are sometimes they are maybe, but they are generally. I haven't seen any questions in the past paper, but there may be questions. The name of and number of the company, the date of the incorporation, whether the limited company or unlimited company or any company limited by guarantee, whether private company, whether an offshore company. So these type of informations will be included in the certificate of incorporation. Any questions you all wanted to ask before moving to the company names? Okay. Why everybody keeps silence? You can, if you have any questions, you can ask. Okay. The next one is company name. As I mentioned already, the company name also, there are some requirements because company name is one of the most important aspect in the registration of a company. They have to select appropriate company name, which should not be identical to the existing company. And other than that, there are some other requirements related to the company names. The first one is, if it is a limited company, other than listed company, the end in the word limited or abbreviation LTD should be mentioned. But what does it mean? For example, generally the companies are limited companies, no? If it is a limited company, then there will be another one is some of the limited companies are listed in the Colombo Stock Exchange. Okay, if they are not if they are listed in the stock exchange, then the requirement will be different. But if the company is a limited company and it is not listed in the Colombo Stock Exchange, then they have to use the word limited or abbreviation of the word LTD. Understand? The second one is, if it is a private company, then the shall end the words private limited or by the abbreviation of PVT limited. So that's what I said already. If a company is no longer considered as a private company, then they have to change the name. Why they have to change? They have to remove these words, PVT limited or private limited word, they have to remove and they have to put as a limited company. That's why I think you all would have remember that. I have mentioned that if it is a private company, if the company is no longer a private company, they are one of the conditions they have to remove, they have to change the name. Why they have to change the name? Because they can't no longer use the private limited word. They have to use either limited or PLC. The other requirement, you can ask the other question. If it is a limited company and listed in the stock exchange, then it shall end the words public limited company or by the abbreviation PLC. That's what you would have noticed that in the stock exchange or the companies which are listed in the stock exchange generally called as a PLC. You can observe it. Actually, the stock exchange list, Columbus Stock Exchange, the company names, when you are seeing that, it's ended up with a PLC, John Keel's Holding PLC, and Haley's PLC, and some other all the listed companies are saying as a PLC. They ended up with a PLC because public limited company. So these are the main requirements saying that if it is a limited company, it should be the limited or abbreviation word LTD. If it is a private company, private limited or abbreviation word PVT LTD. If it is a public, the listed company, it should be public limited company or by the abbreviation PLC. No company will be registered by the name which is identical of the existing company or registered overseas company. Either If it is an existing company or registered overseas company, identical, the name are mostly identical, then they won't register those the name. The second one is the contain the words Chamber of Commerce unless permitted. And if the company registrar is considered that this name will mislead the people, then that company name will not be approved. So there are some conditions to apply the company name as well. Here, actually the first condition is no company will be registered by a name which is identical of the existing company, the first one. The second one is if the company name is considered as a word of Chamber of Commerce unless permitted by the minister, then otherwise they won't accept this name if the company name considered as a word of Chamber of Commerce. And if the company is registered, the company register is an opinion that this name will mislead the people, they will not allow to use that name as a company name. So these are the three general clauses which will not allow to register a company name. Okay, and other one is generally the company should not register in the name containing the following words without the concern of the ministers. If the minister the minister in charge to the registrar of company, if that minister doesn't approve, then the following circumstances or following the condition, the name will not be, company name will not be considered as a registered company. The first one is president or presidential or similar suggested, the government or government department. So in that case, the company, until otherwise the minister approved, that company name will not be permitted. The second condition is municipal or incorporated or other. And the third one is cooperative or society. The fourth one is national, state or Sri Lanka or similar words that suggest any connection with the government or any government department, then they will not allow those names to register as a company names. So these are the things you will have to keep in mind. There are two conditions. One is at any circumstances they will not allow to register as a company name. Those circumstances are identical to existing company, Chamber of Commerce, and if the company registrar feel it or consider it, it will mislead the people. And some other condition which can be in the name, can be registered as a name, but they need the minister's consent. If the minister should approve to register those names. Those conditions there are four conditions. First one is it is president or presidential or any similar that suggests patronage of the president, government or government department. The second one is municipal or incorporated, or other. Cooperative or society. National, state, Sri Lanka or similar words that suggest any connection with government or any government department. In those circumstances, it will not be allowed as to register as a company name. So now I think you all make clear. Any doubt? Okay. A name change by the resolution is permitted with prior written approval of the registrar. Generally, the company name can be changed. So, to change the company name, they have to pass a special resolution. So, a name change with a special resolution is permitted with the prior written approval of the company registrar. The company should give the public notice of incorporation by publishing its name, company number, and address of the registrar office within 30 days of incorporation. This is another requirement with related to the company name. So once the company incorporated, then the public notice has to be given within 30 days of the incorporation. The change of the name published within 20 days of the change. Generally, companies are changing their names. So in that circumstance, generally means some rare circumstances, they change the name. In those situation, they have to inform to the public within 20 days of the change of the names. So these are the requirements with related to the company name. So the company name, if we summarize that, it should be limited company, they should be have the limited word. If it is a private company, they should have the private limited word. If it is a listed company, they should have the PLC word. And there are three circumstances. The company will not, any name of the company will not be accepted to register as a company. And the four circumstances, with the minister's approval, they will allow to register. Only with the minister's consent, they will approve to register as a company name. And if it is any change of company name, with a special approval permitted with a written approval of the registrar. And if it is a company registered, within 30 days they have to inform to the public. And if it is a name change, within 20 days they have to inform to the public. These are the requirement, some of the requirement related to the company name. Any questions before moving to the other section? No, there's a question that can the company get an approval from any minister if they need to get its name ended with a municipal or state? No, of course not. Actually, they have to get the approval from the minister in charge to the registrar of company. The particular minister only can approve, because if it is any minister, no, it is not any minister. It should be a particular minister. That minister in charge to the registrar of company. In the government institution, if you see that, if it is the ministerial allocation, then after the ministerial allocation, there will be a gazette notification. The gazette notification, they will assign the different government institution under different ministry. Actually, for example, if it is a central bank, they will allocate, okay, this is under the finance minister. If it is a bankers loan, they will allocate. If it is a gem corporation, they will allocate. There may be the vocational training authority, VTA. They will allocate, okay, this will be in the skill development ministry. Likewise, they will allocate. Likewise, they will allocate registrar of company department. The registrar of company will come under that particular minister. And that particular minister only can approve for this name change. That is also not that easy, because then everybody will influence the minister and get the president or presidential the word or municipal that. So these are very rare chance, but there's a leeway. That's what in the act, there's a leeway. If the minister concern approved, then they can use it, but not any minister, only the particular minister. Particular minister means the minister in charge to registrar of company. Understand? Okay. Then we can move into the next section. Okay. There are some more things. These company names also, the name of the company number should be clearly stated in some of the documents. The first one is all business letters, the company name should be notified. All notices and other publications, company name and their business registration number should be, the company number should be, they have to mention. And all the bills of exchange, promissory notes, endorsement and checks, etc., they have to mention. And the all invoices received and other letter of credit, they have to mention the company name, and all other documents issued and signed by the company, including the legal obligation of the company, they should. So these are the documents the company sees. These are the documents they have to use the company name in these documents. And finally, the name and number should be clearly displayed at the registered office. Actually, this is one of the most important requirements. At their registered office, they have to clearly mention their name, company name, and the company number. Understand? So these are some of the requirements. Next, we will move into the article of association. I think I have already mentioned some matters related to the article of association. The article provides for the objective of the company. This we have already discussed. I think in each and every article of association, they have to mention what is the objective of the company and the rights and obligation of the shareholders, management and administration of the company. Those things has to be mentioned in the article of association. The second point is most important point. Model articles given in the first schedule of the Companies Act. So there's in the first schedule of the Company Act given the model article and apply for any company if no separate article exists or is a company limited by guarantee. If the company limited by guarantee or any other separate article exists, generally the model article mentioned in the first schedule can be used. An article bind the company and its shareholders as if there were a contract between the company and the shareholders. So this is why it is the article of association is most important. It is mentioning the objective of the company. The second most important factor is which is mentioned or which is the contract, which is mentioned the contract between the company and its shareholders, and the rights and obligation of the shareholders also mentioned in the article of association. That's why it is mentioned that the article of association is most important document for a company. So based on that document only, the rights and obligation of the shareholders and the contract between the company and shareholder is decided or determined. The third one is particularly all money payable by the shareholders to the company under the articles is a debt due from shareholder to the company. Understand? The fourth one, the company by a special resolution alter its article and it shall give notice of such resolution to the registrar within 10 days. So we have already seen that the name change. By a special resolution, they can change the name of the company and it has to be given within, it has to be given to the notice to the public within 20 days. That is one requirement we have already discussed. This is another requirement. The company can change the article of association with a special resolution, but within 10 days, it has to be informed to the registrar of company. So these are the main things related to the article of association. And generally, I have mentioned that the article of association, there's a model article of association included in the first schedule of the Companies Act of 2007. Generally, these are the contents in the those article of association. First, shares. The terms and conditions related to the issues, calls, distribution, share register, share certificate, transfer and transmission of shares. All those information should be included in the article of association, included in the model article of association. And shareholders meeting, the rules, notices, method of holding meetings, quorum, chairperson, voting, proxies, minutes, AGM, EGM, those information should be mentioned in the article of association. in the model article of association, these informations are available. And directors and secretary, appointment and removal of the directors or secretary, powers and duties of the directors and secretary, meeting procedures, chairperson, notices, method, quorum, voting, minutes, resolution, and secretary related things. Everything has to be mentioned in the article of association. Accounts audit matters also mentioned in the article of association, and the liquidation and removal from the register, that is also mentioned, and miscellaneous things. There are documents to be maintained, rights of the shareholders and directors, to documents and name of the company, insurance and indemnity. Those information also has to be mentioned in the article of association. Generally, the model article of association having all these information. So generally, other than except the limited by guarantee companies, all other companies has to follow or generally following this general article of association, unless otherwise they are having a separate article of associations. So these are the things related to the article of association. Any questions you all wanted to ask from me? Yeah, there's a questions here. Can you clarify incorporated? Most foreign companies are ends with INC in their names. Thanks. Actually, in the Sri Lankan Registrar of Company requirement, we are saying it should be end with the limited LTD generally, and in the foreign countries, some other countries it should be end with the incorporated. This is similar to the limited. They have to mention as a incorporated INC, but that's why then the foreign companies generally it has been mentioned as a INC. If you see the companies incorporated in the US, you can generally see the INC incorporated. So that is their abbreviation. But in Sri Lanka, of course, it is an abbreviation of the limited LTD here. Under the if any company registered under the Sri Lankan the Companies Act, they have to follow those abbreviations, limited or PLC and other things. In the foreign company, of course, the INC, especially the US companies, they are mentioning the INC. And there's other questions. Can you show us the first slide of article of association again, please? Yeah, okay. Article of association first slide. No. Yeah. In the first slides, we have discussed about the objective of the article of association provided for, and model articles given the first schedules, and then it discuss about the article bind the company and shareholders and the contract between the company and shareholders, and the special resolution to change the article of association. These are the things mentioned in these slides. I think you would have, if you wanted to notify anything, just you can notify. Okay. Then can we get the slides and the recording of the session? Actually, the last time what we have done is we normally we are posting the slides to the students 2 days before the classes. Generally in Thursday, generally we send it to the students, the slides, and the recording, of course, you can get it through the YouTube channels after 1 week or something. The IBSL YouTube channels, we are putting these things. If there's any forum, actually I don't know about the forum. You'll have to ask from the IBSL people. Of course, I don't know about that forum. But we are giving our slides to the IBSL 2 days before the class. It means generally Thursdays. So I think they are posting to the students. So just contact the IBSL people. They may direct you how to get the slides. Somebody mentioned that slides are in the Google Classroom. So if you go to the Google Classroom, I think you can get it in the. You can go get those slides. There are slides slightly different between that I have submitted to the Google Classroom and this very slight difference. 1 or 2 differences are there. That's negligible. So you can follow these Google Classroom slides. Okay. Then we will move to the next section or final section of this today's class, the shareholders of the company. I have mentioned you all that the shareholders of the company is one of the important. The shareholders are having the rights and some obligations also. Those things we will look into this section. A person whose name is entered in the share register as the holder of one or more shares is called as a shareholder. Okay, this is the definition. Sometimes these type of small questions may come into the one of the sub question in the first question 1. Who is shareholder? A person whose name is entered in the share register as a holder of the one or more shares is called as a shareholder. Until the name is entered in the share register, a person named as shareholder in an application of the company at the time of registration of a company. We are saying that once the name is registered in the shareholder only, the share register only, we can call or he is entitled to call as a shareholder. But there are some exceptions. Until the name entered in the share register, if a person named as a shareholder in an application of the company at the time of registration, first incorporation of the company, then that person is entitled to call as a shareholder. So at the time of initial shareholder, so there will not be any share register or anything. So at that time, that person will be is entitled to call as a shareholder. And a person who is entitled to have his name entered in the share register under an amalgamation proposal. Sometimes there may be 2 companies get amalgamated. At that time also, until they register into the share register, at that time also, the person has the entitled to hold as a name as a shareholder. When notice of a trust is entered in the share register of the person for whose benefit such shares are held. For example, sometimes a trust may hold the shares, but on behalf of the particular person, then that person can be considered. So these are until enter the share register, they can be entitled as a shareholder. So generally, a person whose name entered in the shareholders are entitled to called as a shareholder, but there are some exemptions. The first exemption is until the first incorporation of register of the company and amalgamation, and when the trust is entered in the share register as a person for whose benefit such shares are held. So these are some exceptional cases. And where a company has wrongfully failed to enter the name of a person to whom shares have been transferred. So at that time also, they can consider it as a shareholder when a company wrongfully failed to enter into the name of the person whose shares have been transferred. So for example, our shares are transferred, but the company failed to enter. So in that case also, he is become the shareholder. And liabilities of a shareholder. The liability is limited to any liability expressly provided for an article of association of the company under the company or under the Companies Act. Generally, this what we have mentioned from initial to now. The article of association is most important document where it says that what is the liability to each shareholder in the event of liquidation. Okay, the liability is limited. So the shareholders liability is limited to any liability that expressly provided for an article of association of the Companies Act. That is the amount, the liability to a shareholder, and not liability to any act or default or an obligation of the company only by being a shareholder. For example, if a company default or company is doing some wrong things, then this shareholder will not be a liable only by being a shareholder. Of course, if the shareholder becomes the director and all, that is, of course, sometimes he may get in a liable. But only being as a shareholder, if the company default or if company is doing some wrongful things, but then in that circumstances, the just normal shareholder will not be liable to that act. The liability for cause, where a charge rendered, it's called a liability to cause. The liability is to current holder of the share, whether the liable become the enforced before register of charge in the name of current holder. So liability is lie on the name of current holder of the share. Where all or part of the consideration payable remain unsatisfactory, liability is on the person to whom the charge was issued. So these are some liabilities of the shareholders you can observe. And exercise of the powers. Yes, exercise of the powers. The powers reserved to shareholders by the Companies Act can be exercised only. So as a shareholder, he can exercise the powers given by the Companies Act at the meeting of shareholders and by a resolution in lien of the meeting. So at the meeting, so at what circumstances the shareholder can use their power? He can use their power at a shareholders meeting and by passing a resolution or by voting a resolution, they can use their powers. And powers reserved by the articles may subject to the article be exercised at the meeting of shareholder by a resolution in lieu of the meeting. So resolution of lieu of the meeting, subject to the articles, a resolution in writing signed not less than 85% of the shareholders who is entitled to vote at the shareholder meeting and who together hold not less than 85% of the votes entitled to cast of the resolution is valid as if it has been passed at a shareholders meeting. Okay. So when they are calculating this 85%, how they calculate? They are calculating based on their shareholding. For example, if it is 100 shareholders, the 85% of the shareholders does it not necessarily that 85 people. Actually, even the 100 people, maybe first 10 people may have the 90% of the shares. So if the first 10 people may say call for a resolution or sign in writing signature, that will be considered as 90% of the shareholding. So this is the 85% is considered based on the number of shares, not the number of people. In the cooperative society, of course, it's number of people, but in the company, it's number of shares. One has the one voting power. Exercise of powers by resolution. There can be two resolutions. First one is ordinary resolution. Second one is special resolution. Ordinary resolution means a resolution is approved by a single majority of the votes of the shareholders entitled to vote and voting the resolution. So if it is a resolution passed by the simple, if it is required to pass by the simple majority, which is ordinary resolution. Unless otherwise provided, the articles or the act, powers reserved to shareholders can be exercised by an ordinary as a resolution. For example, if Article of Association or Company Act specifically says that, okay, these are the things has to be resolved by the particular special resolution, all other things has to be passed by the normal ordinary resolution. For example, what example I can give? Okay, the Article of Association, the Company Act says that Article of Association can be changed by a special resolution. In that case, the company need to pass a special resolution. But for other circumstances, if the Company Act or Article of Association silence, and that circumstances, they can pass an ordinary resolution and carry on the business. And special resolution means by a majority of 75% of the shareholders entitled to vote or voting on the resolution. It is called as a special resolution. The general meeting, which not less than 15 working days notice, specifying in the purpose of resolution as a special one, has been duly given. Okay, so these are the two ways to exercise the power of the resolution. And the special resolution, what are the purposes we have to get a special, pass a special resolution or use the special resolution? The circumstances are given. The first one is alter the company's articles. So article, when they alter the company's article of association, they have to get a special resolution. The second one is approve a major transaction. So if there is any major transaction, they have to approve with a special resolution. For example, amalgamation of the company likewise. And okay, that's also particularly given that approve an amalgamation of the company, then they have to go for a special resolution. Reduce the company's stated capital, they have to go for a special resolution. If it is reduce the company's stated capital, and the resolve the company to be wound up voluntarily, then they have to go for a special resolution. Change the name of the company and change the status of the company. So all these circumstances, they have to go for a special resolution. What is the change of status of the company? What does it mean? For example, if a company is a private company, so they wanted to know, they wanted to go for a public company. Public company in the means the generally limited company. So in that circumstances, change the status of the company. So in that circumstance, what they have to do is they have to pass a special resolution. So in the special resolution, they can for these circumstances, they can use the special. They can pass the special resolution, and shareholder can exercise their power. The first three, the out of the company name, approve the major transaction, approve the amalgamation of the company. The first three can be resident only the another special resolution. So these three can be removed by another special resolution. Fourth and five cannot be recovered. Reduce the stated company and resolve the company to be wound up. So this is the exercise of the power by special resolution. And finally, we are going to discuss about the shareholders' rights. So it is one of the important things. Shareholder has the certain right. The first one is shareholder has the right, as per the Company Act, shareholders has the right to obtain any information related to the company transaction. So he can request the company, the secretary, to provide those informations. So he has the right, and he has the right to get the returns, and to right to get the return or decide the return. For example, the return declared by the company or sort of things they can they have the right. And the third one is appoint the auditors. That is also shareholders' right. The shareholders at the general meeting can appoint the auditors and appoint the directors. This is main rights of the shareholders. They can appoint the directors and they can approve the material transaction of the company. So related to these things, the shareholders has the rights. No actions can be taken to affect rights affected to shareholders unless approved by a special resolution. So today's class, of course, we have discussed about the 3 or 2 main areas. The first one is we have discussed about the incorporation of the companies, and under the incorporation of companies, we have mentioned about the before that we have had a discussion about the introduction of the finance institution. We have discussed under that several things, and then we move into the incorporation of the company. In incorporation of companies, generally we are just looking to the statutory incorporation requirement and type of the companies, and then some special type of the companies, private companies, companies guaranteed by listed by the guarantees, an offshore company and overseas company details. And then we have moved into the incorporating of a company, where we have seen the 4 or 5 steps, where how the shareholders get together and what are the document has to be submitted, and how the registrar of company will consider the application and register as a company, and how the certificate incorporations are given, and what are the things has been mentioned in the incorporation of companies. Likewise, those details will be mentioned. And then we have seen something about the company name details, and what are the names can be used and what are the names cannot be used, and what are the special requirement based on the type of companies. Those things we have seen today's class. Then we have moved into the article of association. The article of association, we have discussed about the objective of the company, what are things has to be included in the article of association, and how it can be altered, and all the information. And then generally we have mentioned that the first schedule of the Companies Act having the model article of association, and what are the things included in the model article of association. Those are chairs, shareholders meeting, and directors and secretary, accounts and audit, liquidations and miscellaneous things. And then we have moved into the shareholder of the company, and as a last part, and the shareholder of the company, we have seen what are the who is the shareholder of the companies, and what are the liabilities the shareholder of the companies are having, and exercise of the powers. How can they exercise the powers? Under the exercise of the power, we have seen that the ordinary resolution and special resolution. Under the ordinary resolution, if any resolution passed by a simple majority of the vote, required to pass by a single majority of the votes, it can be considered ordinary resolution. But special resolution, of course, majority of the 75% of the shareholders entitled to vote has to be approved the special resolution. And then we have seen what are the things has to be the special resolution, what are the circumstances we have to obtain the special resolution. And finally, we have seen about the shareholders' rights. I think these are the things we have discussed today's class. And this is just to give a very basic background information or the familiarization of the subject. And tomorrow's class or the next class onwards, what we are going to do is we are going to discuss about the licensing part of the finance institution. For example, if a company wanted to take a license or as a function as a bank or finance company or specialized leasing company, what are the requirements they have to meet? Also, sort of things we will discuss in the next class. So, having that, if you have any questions, you can ask. Here there's a question that, sir, are all the shareholders have the same rights? Of course, the general answer is no, because there are different shareholders type. voting shareholders, non-voting shareholders, preferential shareholders, and there are different type of shareholders. Then in between the different type of shareholders, the different rights are, they are having different rights. For example, in the company meeting, only the voting shareholder can vote. Non-voting shareholders cannot vote. But if we ask the question, okay, among the voting shareholder, is the rights are same? Yes, of course. Among the voting shareholders, everybody has the same rights. But if it is a different category of shareholders, of course, different category of the shareholders having different rights. I think you all have understand. Okay. So that is the answer for that. If it is a just answer, what is it? Yeah, there's an they said that code it, sir. Okay, thank you. And there's another question. What is the purpose of the offshore company to do business in another country and register done in Sri Lanka? Sir, can you please explain? Actually, some companies are having these offshore companies for tax benefit purposes. So they don't do the businesses, but for the tax benefited purposes, they can claim that sometimes they will not do the business, but they will just for example, if a company in a country, from a country they can directly export from the other country. What they will do is they will open a offshore company, and then through that, by using that name, they will make that exports and all. And basically, for the tax purpose, tax benefit purposes, they are getting the offshore companies are registering in other Sri Lanka. So, any other questions? Okay, if you don't have any other questions, then I can stop this class today. We will meet on next Saturday at the same time, 10:30. Okay, thank you.